Welcome to episode 12 of this podcast, Creativity Release. I'm really excited that you're here. Today, I'm going to share a little bit of something that's vulnerable, but also I'm going to share how I came out of it. So if you've ever kind of struggled with having a quiet time and you think, oh, I'm too tired, I can't have some time alone. I've got too much going on, you feel overwhelmed. Then this episode is for you, because I'm going to talk about why quiet times with yourself and with God is so important and how art journaling can help you. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing my screen with you and I'll be talking to you. And what you'll see on the screen is some artwork that I did this morning based on this idea of having time with God. And my process of doing this, and the reason why I'm doing it on a canvas rather than a journal, is because I had some time with God in a letter form, really. I tend to find it easier to write my prayers down in a letter form. And it becomes a kind of exchange between me and him. Then after that, then I create something out of that. And so during this time of quietness, I did some art afterwards, and there's no talking in that video. And I'm just going to be I am going to share that video to my members, because I will be using it as a teaching tool. But I thought I'd just share with you how I create as well, and talk about being mindful about the time you spend with God, and making it a priority. So yes, I have skipped my quiet time, and I don't know whether any of you have skipped your quiet time. So I'm sharing with you this personal reflection on what happens when we skip quiet time with God, and how art journaling can be a really powerful way to get back to him. So let me just share my screen here. I thought it'd be really good to kind of just basically share some of the tools that I use when I'm doing my art journaling and my creative side. Now, you might not want to use a canvas, and you might want to just kind of do everything in your journal book, this is where I started. I started in my journal book, but I just thought I'd share with you some of the things that I do. So, okay, so this is a really honest confession. I hadn't had a quiet time with God for 2 days. Now, last week I had sickness with a chest infection, and I was starting a new job, and I was feeling really tired to do anything else. And I didn't just lose the time. I actually didn't make any time for God, and that's the true confession. So the impact of skipping quiet time is that you feel, and I felt, physically tired. I felt sluggish. I felt just unmotivated. And mentally, I felt really foggy. I had no sense of priorities. I had no clarity. I felt I had to do a bit of everything, and that increased the anxiety inside of me. And spiritually, I was just disconnected from God. I wasn't anchored and holding on to him. I was scattered. I was doing all sorts of things, and not even prioritizing time for myself. And how that comes about is that when you do all that, when you kind of spend time doing other things, that actually it affects your relationships as well. I became irrational. I became less patient and really quite distant. So, in the Bible, it says in Matthew 11, verse 23, is, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." And I didn't go to God. I didn't ask for rest. And I was really tired. So what a quiet time does, what it actually does for us, is that it recenters your relationship with God. It recenters your time with him and puts him first. Okay. And it helps us to connect to the Holy Spirit. It helps us to find peace. It helps us to find clarity and purpose into our day. Asking God, well, what do you want me to do next? What do you want me to do today? And it kind of aligns our heart with God's heart before the noise begins. Okay, because if you think about the Bible verse that says, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." Okay, that's Matthew 6, verse 33. So it's important to put him first, isn't it? And I do struggle with actually quiet times in prayer generally, and that's why I use art journaling as a way of connecting with God. And it's my secret weapon in a way. It slows me down. It helps me hear from God. It helps me hear visually from God and emotionally. So, oh, forgive me for that. I should have switched my phone off. Now you know it's live. So what I wanted to say to you is that when you are spending time with God, you really need to kind of be clear about that time you spend, because you're creating that sacred space for creativity, but you're also creating that sacred space for connection. And often when I do that, find that time of clarity and conviction, I paint, I doodle, I layer paper on here, and you can see in this drawing that I've got here is that it is very kind of sketchy. Okay. And then I'm thinking, oh, I've made mistakes. I mean, if you look at this painting, you can see that, I don't go for perfection. I have to admit, I'm not a perfectionist. And I think, oh, this bit has kind of become a bit of a smudge, or it's kind of bled into the other bit. Oh, maybe I'll cover it up with a nice, pretty fabric. That's what I tend to do, and what does that say to me? I know I'm not perfect before God, but he kind of covers me with his shield. He gives me the strength, and out of him, if we are grafted into him, like I thought about this picture here. If you can see, I got this bud here, this new growth, and we are grafted into his family. So it's just it becomes symbolic as we do that piece of art. We kind of think, yeah, what are you telling me to do? I had no plan when I was doing this piece of art, to be honest, but then as it evolved, I was thinking, yeah, on this side, on the right hand side, I want it to be kind of bright, cheery, and full of growth and potential. Because that reminds me of my right hemisphere, which is the creative side of me. But when I don't give any time for God on the left side, and I think, oh, I've got to do this, it's a logical thing, I'm just starting a job and I've got to get this thing right. It's all things that are logical, but it ends up becoming grey, and you'll see later on how I end up making it grey, and broken, because that left side can be the side that develops all that anxiety and that frustration in our lives. So when we feel far from God, it's not him who's moved, it's us who's moved, okay? But God is not condemning us for missing that time. He just invites us back to that relationship with him, even when we've got those messy fears, and even when we've missed the pages and we've missed the days, and he's still there for us, because the Lord is gracious and compassionate. He's slow to anger and is rich in love, which is Psalm 145, verse 8. So I wanted to ask you, well, how can you make space for him again? Now, what does it take to make space for him? So that's a really good question, isn't it? Because we just need to start. That's all it is. It's just about starting. And it's about starting small. You don't need to create a beautiful picture. And as you see, when I was doing this picture, it's not professional. I was thinking, oh, maybe I could sell it. But I don't know whether I can sell it or not. But I know it reminds me of making time for God. And when I write the words on there, so make time for God, he makes time for you, you'll see it is, it's important to make that time, but to just start small. Maybe it's one Bible verse that you're going to write down in your book. And from that Bible verse, think about what kind of scribble, doodle, what sort of prayer could I write about this? And the other thing is to create a kind of a creative corner, where you've got a box of your tools, if you like, your Bible, your journal, your pens, your pencils, your whatever you're going to use. Glue in my, because I use a lot of Collage, so I need some glue as well. So there might be some scraps of paper. So create that corner for yourself, and make it as an act of love. This time that you're spending, the space that you're carving out for yourself, and for God, is an act of love. It shouldn't be seen as a chore. We're not aiming for perfection. I wouldn't say that I've been to art school and I can draw a perfect picture. This is not what it's about. It's about just aiming for being in his presence and thinking what he's saying to us. As you look here, you can see that I've made a bit of a smudge. The ink kind of smudged into something else. And here you can see that I found these worry dolls, I think. And I think I must have bought it for my son when he was struggling with certain things. And I said, if you worry about anything, pick this doll and just pray about it, And I thought it was something tactile that he could use as he talks to God. And then I was thinking, what do I do with it? Because I think I must have bought it when he was like 8 years old, and now he's 18. He's not going to use that thing. So I thought I didn't want to waste it. And I put all these sort of worry dolls on my left side of the tray, as you can see. And I just glued them down with some PVA glue. And they're just there. And you see, here's during that, whilst I was doing this, some of these dolls were falling off, and it was almost like God says, just take them off, and then, but I glued them back on. And that is what happens to our lives. We worry about something. God has taken that worry away. And yet we still kind of, I'm not saying that worry goes away. What I'm saying is that we've given it to God, and we shouldn't worry about it. We should just give him the burdens. And yet we say, oh no, I've got to hang on to it. And we end up making it worse for ourselves, really. So as you can see here, I talk about making time for God, because he makes time for you. And as you can see here, the word you, it wasn't even, okay? Because actually the time that I spend with God is not always even. He's always there, but I kind of like squeeze myself in there. The word you is squeezed very close to God. Actually, I do want to be close to God. I don't want to be far away from him. So even whilst I was doing this piece of art, God was speaking to me, that it's okay. It's not perfect. The circle's not perfect. It's very sketchy. Um, but it's me. It's my kind of the way I work, and it's my kind of art. And as I write these words down, you can see I've written some Bible verses here, and this is about God's steadfast love that never ceases. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end, which is Lamentations 3 verse 22. And you can see in the corner here, I've also written, draw me close to you, Lord, and he will draw near to you. That's James 4 verse 8. So as you can see, I can see that doll that's fallen off here. I put the date at the back, and I end up sticking that doll, you can see, on there again, on the broken side. But that's all we do. We sometimes do stick our worries back on. So if you're thinking of creating your first art journal, then I've got a special workshop for you. Just head over to creativesoulspace.com/sign up May 25, and I can't wait to see you in there. It's going to be completely amazing, and yeah, I can't wait to see you in there.
If today's episode inspired you, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. I'm on a mission to reach as many people as possible who need to find their creativity, to find their purpose and reduce their anxiety. By subscribing and leaving a review, you're helping the algorithm share this message with more people, and I truly, truly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Want to take your creativity to the next level? Download my free Abundance Planner, designed to help you dream big, plan boldly, and step into your creative calling. Grab your copy now at ChristianArtJournaling.com/freebie-joyful. That's ChristianArtJournaling.com/freebie-joyful. Or check the show notes. Let's stay connected, and I'll see you in the next episode of Creativity Released.
Okay, that's it for now. I'm really excited because this weekend I'm off to a ceramics show in London with my husband, and I can't wait to get there. So take care, everyone, and I'll see you next week, next Friday. God bless. Bye.